You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just Bernie.
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?
Weekend at Bernie's.
All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Anyone tuning in late tonight, thank you for being here. And anyone watching this afterwards, hopefully this is a good episode and I'm able to express what's going on and the strange position that I'm currently in. And it has to do with several breakthroughs that I myself have made along with Jeremiah Pop in regards to um, both what I'm going to rename as essentially the source code, which is based off of these. Let's see, there we go. Those three, I guess, geometries slash symbols. We got a dot, a line, and a hole. And welcome, Deanne. Welcome, Dusty. Welcome, everyone watching. But this right here, that's a story more for another day. Hey, shout out Jared. Good to see you, brother. Props to my man Alright, and props to man Aaron. Good to see you both here today. And what I am going to be discussing has to do with the discussion that I was having with Jeremiah and what happened during it, and that we were hacked. It was a private video call, which not sure how they got into it. And then after I shut down, all of my cameras and microphones on my computer reactivated, and it just kind of kept me up at night a little bit. And it keeps me very cautious in what I'm say and what I do and what I release in what manners, because on top of it all, we were also hacked a few months ago by a Chinese group. The group that hacked us the other day seems to be a different group monitoring us, and that it's very precarious situation in the sense that if I am right with what I have indeed discovered and am manufacturing, it is quantum matter, and it is the missing pieces of getting their quantum computers actually running. And not only that, I also figured out the quantum circuitry and have a whole bunch of patents that I need to file, but there's a good chance I'm being monitored and that they're trying to steal it, and that there's several different groups out for this information, including apparently Hal Puthoff has been looking for this for the last 30 years in order to, I guess, power his supposed quantum computer that he made 3 decades ago, but without these metamaterials is unable to get it working. And before I get into the Walter Russell stuff, there's 3 key pieces. Well, so quantum matter, but it goes into spintronics as well as something new, which I was talking about with Jeremiah for the last 2 weeks, but just seen published earlier today, called orbtronics. And it has to do with the electron shells, the electron spins, and the way that they are both charged and polarized, and how they're able to store information as well as energy. And it all ties back into, oh yes, Dusty, the valences. And now that you bring that word up, that's the second part of the discovery, which I do feel comfortable talking about, which I will be writing a couple papers on, and that's valent shell phase shifting or state, yeah, phase state shifting valence shell fusion and fission. And it's very complex, but also very simple, and it has to do with the magical power of water, as well as a big part of what we're looking at right here in Walter Russell's periodic table diagrams, especially this one and the red and the blue, and what I have figured out with it, and several of the properties that go along with the red active acidic hydrogen states and the blue, I guess, polarized magnetic oxygen, cold endothermic states, of course, the red being and the hydrogen being hot, how they, the entropy that's involved with them, and the energy that is able to be essentially transmutated from one particle to another when the process of phase shifting and valence shell creation and breaking, bond breaking into water and out of water, and the different states, whether it's a gas, liquid, solid, and plasma. And in the nano single particle, what's the right word? Molecules, the single molecule particle molecules that essentially are monoatomic, and the combinations of monatomics into plasmids, the diatomics and triatomics of oxides and hydrides, and the corresponding alkaline acidic water reactions and states, and all going back to the single atom elements of white pure single atom monoatomic elements being the neutral pieces. And I might have already said too much with just stating what I have here. Now, of course, right, the deuterium and tritium, and that Walter Russell predicted them and called them other particles than they were found after his original publishing here. But they are a key part of this phase shift valence, I guess, cold fusion processes, and that I believe I myself have been producing a decent amount of both over the years, and that there's not a whole lot of information available on these two different hydrogen isotopes, specifically due to their nuclear properties, and thus it's left a lot of guessing game over my decade of experimenting with electrolysis, and what I now know that I have produced them on numerous occasions. Why, when I took samples, they decayed at specific half-lives before I could send the samples off, and how I have Well, I've got several processes of manufacturing and stabilizing the different decay rates, and that it's a lot different than most suspect. And this is huge. These are giant claims, and at the same time, this is very sketchy, dangerous information that, in the wrong hands, not good. And with the potential that my computers are still compromised, I haven't really written out too many equations and have kept it all mostly in my head for now. Where did I find? So that's I will also be getting into, and that is part of the source code. Great question, Eighth Sinner, and I will definitely be doing that. But before I move on to explaining the alchemy sides of it, well, this is the biggest aspect of phase shifting elements and what octave they're in and what alkalinity, acidity slash electrical and electric charge and magnetic polarizations that are within them, and what orbital of valence shells they are active in. And there is a lot of real science that needs to be done to be able to confirm my different theses and the practices of them. All right, let us continue on a little bit more with, and Eighth Center, you are bang on with that. But here we go. So we'll bring this up for you. And it is a huge, huge part of what I realized with alchemical symbols, and that they are, in fact, vector based energy pictograms of specific energies, geometries, and relationships within the elements and what phase state they are in. I've actually got better versions of this chart than this one, so I will bring them up in a moment here. But before we get into that, let's try to explain a couple other aspects, such as this bad boy right here of, and sorry, shout out to Andy Sings, shout out Eight Sinner, shout out to His Highness, and shout out Sandy Warden joining from the UK. Shout out DN, not sure, and everyone else, Mika Avila, and sorry if I missed anyone, the Fourth Wiseman. Thank you all for joining today. Now, this supposedly shouldn't exist, yet here it is. And it is from Walter Russell, and we have octave waves, their specific atomic masses, and the frequencies. Where's the frequency? Oh, no, not on this chart. This is a different chart. My apologies, but this one, just as important when understanding the correlations between the octaves of the specific bands of elements. And good call, 8 Sinner. I am quite familiar with Keeley, but I'm not sure if I've seen his octaval breakdown with the sacred geometry yet, although I am pretty sure I have similar charts either by him or someone else that I've been looking at. Again, Walter Russell's charts. The more I look into them, the more I realize he had everything I'm talking about fully figured out. And in regards to their negative and positive charges, and you're also seeing the acidity alkaline aspects, but there is a lot more to it, of which I need to be very careful of what information I release before doing patents, as well as the overall implications of those which have hacked and are spying on myself and the rest of the group, trying to figure out the secrets that we now know. And again, it is a huge part in regards to the octave harmonics, especially when doing phase shifting of the valence shells, and why I feel okay when safe with talking about the phase shift fusion at this point is because if you, well, there's other aspects to it, and that the reactions, if not done properly, specific additional stabilizing factors while doing the phase shift fusion, the transmutation is not fully stable, and there's actually non-radioactive decay where the element will phase back into its original element that it was transmutated out of. And this a very, very crucial piece that I did not even realize I had. But yeah, that also gives a little bit of it away. Sorry, just going through a random folder that has a lot of different stuff. The tetronics is another key science that has figured a lot of it out, along with Walter Russell's different periodic octave diagrams, and that myself and Jeremiah have actually also figured out a few different methods of stabilization of the transmutation reactions when doing the phase shift transmutation. And again, why I have been stressing the red and the blue over and over again. I did not even know that was included in Walter Russell's diagrams, but it has everything to do with how, well, matter, elements, and energetic reactions, especially chemical reactions, transfer energy, and specifically heat and cold endothermic, exothermic reactions, the potential electrical charge that can be taken out of that same reaction when phase shifting the same reaction, but into a lower state of matter, for instance, like from a solid into a liquid, and being able to then manipulate that energy particle in a full particle electron photon. So my apologies if I'm getting the specific terminologies wrong. So I'm just going to say the energy particle, and yes, it's electrons, but they come in many energy particle manners. They're just particles of the full energy that can be transferred into valence shells as electrons, and that is a major part of understanding the technology and the process. And here we're looking at hydrogen valence densities and their potentials. And this is a huge key in calculating these reactions and understanding the different processes. Again, with Walter Russell's specifics, this one being the polarization charge, not the electrical charge of the particle. And there's actually over 20 different Walter Russell periodic table geometric tables of how he breaks them into the octaves, the charges, and how it is vortex-based geometry and reactions. I fully agree, 8 Center. My email is in the description links. You should definitely send me an email and we will connect outside of this. So let us continue. Musical geometry, also in octaves. And when you get the perfect harmonics of the elements, you are able to break their bonds, specifically the covalent bonds, is it? I believe the bonds between the same atoms of the same element, and thus affecting the different valence states, breaking all of the bonds, especially when going into the liquid water, turning the elements into their ionic states, and this being where you are then able to use acoustic harmonic resonance to phase shift matter and elements into other corresponding elements in their same octave orbitals, as well as potential densities. Oh, here we go. Even more Walter Russell giving the absolute gold of these understandings. So a lot of what I have discovered is in fact just rediscovery on my own, and then you look in and you see that many others have also already figured it out previously, and they were just written off as ahead of their time. And here we go. The torus. Now, see, single torus, yes, but this is in the gaseous first state as well as the single monoatomic low energy particle state, as well as in the ionic state, but they are charged in that state in plasma. But below the dual double torus, and that is what we have in the liquid state, as well as in such molecules as H2 and much more, but I'm not going to fully get into that right now as it will give too much away. Another Walter Russell diagram in relation to the charge and polarization of elements and where their corresponding interactions are. Hadronic theory. So this is going to need a whole episode all on its own. Yes, all on its own. And this is amazing work, taking Walter Russell's diagrams to the next level of understanding, and how the different vortex planes and fields interact, and that, oh yes, exactly, cymatics are the crucial key to cracking the cold fusion phase shift transmutation reactions and the breaking down of the bonds, I guess the ionic bonds and covalent bonds, as well as the state shifting, phase shifting. Even more Walter Russell diagrams of charges, all extremely relevant. Now, a key part of the spintronics, the what the heck is it called? The orbitronics, and the engineering of the dynamic nuclear spin states of the different valence shells. They are on different valence shells, and first you have, I don't know if I can even say this actually, no, it's going to give too much away, but one of them is gravity, and that is what they're working on cracking. Some have cracked, but they haven't tied them all together yet. And I'm probably saying too much right now, but I do promise I will put it all together in a coherent patent and presentation that will be made public when the time is right. Now, this right here is a key visual aspect for understanding the different types of the orbitals, the phase shifting, and how it all works in dimensional proportion. But I need to illustrate over top, which I have not yet done. Oh, what do we have here? The fleur-de-lis. And what is this? That is most definitely magnetic charges of polarization, but that's not even my work. And for those claiming that Nikola Tesla didn't say the 3, 6, and 9, he actually put out, so this is a redrawing of it, but the 3, 6, 9 multiplication chart, which is definite evidence of his reference to the 3, 6, and 9 properties and importance. Now, again, looking at another Walter Russell diagram and the images of how energy works in the different valence states of atoms and of electrodes, and as well as waves and ripples, how they all tie together. And oh, look at that. I haven't seen that geometry before, have we? Haha, of course we have. Yes, another Walter Russell diagram, but encoded with color, showing, well, illustrating a better, more visualized understanding of the elements in their different octave ranges and how they are more stable with certain other elements and less stable with ones on the same side of the spectrum. And well, take a good look at these tables if you want to figure out more in regards to how this all works. Okay, what am I looking for? We're getting well off the topic, but it's all relevant when you understand. Now, these right here tie into very much so this. Ooh, here we go. Code right here. Look at that. We got dots and we got lines and we got circle holes and how they all connect. And in fact, it is so relevant in so many aspects. But that's presentation for another day and how it all works. But I'll just give one little bit away. Well, you can see you got a particle, you got the bond, and you got the electron orbital. It's everything but nothing at the same time. Agree to disagree on which, but yes, that's the whole point. If true science can always stand up to scrutiny, and I encourage all to challenge what I am saying and put forward, because that is how real science works and how we get actual peer review and confirmation. The inertial line and where it goes gives you your specific octaves. and being able to calculate and figure out what can be phase shifted into what else and how it all works, and that Walter Russell figured this all out over 100 years ago. Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm glad everyone is enjoying the presentation so far and that it is making sense to most, and how everything has to do with the ongoing spin, but that indeed it is the spin within the spin within the spin within the spin. There's actually 4 fields overall if you want to connect into the quantum state through plasma state of ionization. And here again, this is in fact some of Rodin's mathematics, and it is also just as relevant and applicable into understanding this technology, the inner workings of energy and the flow of it within the universal system. Increased integration, increased disintegration. So we got more, less stable, more stable, more stable, less stable. That makes sense as they get bigger. Oh, look at this Walter Russell diagram from over 100 years ago that shows both magnetic fields as well as what all the tokamak hot fusion reactors are designed in this identical geometry. I wonder why. And of course, magnetic fields, a huge part of how electron orbitals work and are influenced. And here, yet another Walter Russell periodic table vortex-based, octave-based charged diagram of how the elements work and are related to each other in their reactions. Absolute zero in mass, temperature, and inertia. Could this be the monoatomic particles? I believe so. Now, again, getting into hydrogen electron orbitals and the probability of the oh, that one, okay, that one could have been Keeley. Good to know. And that there are many that figured it out and added into it and came up with stuff on their own as well. And it all is just as important and relevant in. And these are beyond important in understanding valence shell dimensions and relations of energy, electrons, and how the technology of this phase shift fusion I'm talking about works. Here we have another Russell diagram showing the vortex-based discharges and disintegration going into the very center, and how they both well, how everything self-organizes into these spiraling motions and the vortex motion. And at the very center points, you get your your 0 point essentially, and the neutral. Here again, another Russell geometric dimensional diagram showing the polarization action reaction counts up to 9, never more or less. And this will be going into a more in-depth presentation to come. Gotta be good to see you. Good morning. Welcome. And wishing everybody a blessed day. This I also believe is electron valence, but I could imaging, but it could be wrong. Oh, this one, yeah, this is Walter Russell's blueprint schematics for, I believe, free energy machine that he ran by with Nikola Tesla, his one of his best friends, or his best friend. Good to see Merlin's boy from Wales. Good morning, good day. Yes, Dusty, you are bang on with that statement, and that Jeremiah was actually explaining those specific terms in how my reactions were working, and it will be written into the overall thesis as it develops. And I am up late as always. Although you never know, could be early morning too. I am not familiar with David Lawrence. I will have to also check that out. Thank you for the reference. And thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. Right, exactly. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about, right? Just kidding. I figure it out. It all has purpose and point. And sometimes it takes a couple times to listening to lectures and presentations to fully understand what's going on. Oh, well, good evening, Fourth Wiseman. Thanks for joining in. Or from the other side of the realm. Aid Center, I recommend email over Telegram, as I need to get my newer phone and newer tablet. Both the screens broke on them, and that is where my Telegram apps are. So my Telegram currently not working, but I will be getting it fixed along with Discord here in the next couple days. So for now, the best way to contact me is through email listed in my description links. And thank you, Leafy. Appreciate that. Okay, what else do we have to show? Here we go. The life principle, the cathode and the anode, and we got the inverse size reactions of your valence shells of particles. And now you can see within that three-dimensional cube where he had those different charged numbers. And sorry, just put my email in. There we go. Yeah, should be right. Should be correct. Okay, so different valence shell orbitals and the 0 points, and then the different charge directions of your overall 3D atom, and how color specifically has to do with the charge, where they are, and how they interact, and what atoms come out, what elements come out, depending on, and that color is a very key part of not just energy, but density, geometry, structure, and elemental formation and stability. I'm having the same problem with WhatsApp. I haven't been able to use it for a while, but it should all of these apps should be up and running as I hook up a new phone here in the next few days once I hopefully get paid from work. But so is this the Keeley one? No, this is Robert Edward Grant in 2018. Interesting. Also on to figuring out geometries as well as the colors of the densities of the elements. Here we have another Walter Russell diagram, both illustrating periodic elements in relation to color as well as tone, and how they react, as well as the energy within how it transfers. This too, very crucial. Very, very crucial. And Walter Russell, literally a century ahead of his time, if not more, explaining how everything interacts on the octave spirals and the charges that you get from where they are in proportion to those spirals and or octave locations and the center neutral line, the motion of inertia. Also has wave geometry. Interesting. I've seen this one before. Go back to take a better look at a later time. Another periodic table. So I believe this, no, it's the same one we looked at before. Again, giving your dimensions within the orbitals, within the structures of how it works. Your red, your blue, your acidic, your alkaline, your electrical, your magnetic, your hot, your cold, your hydrogen, your oxygen, in the electrochemical reactions. Very, very key pieces of information, all encoded within Walter Russell's diagrams, and the divine proportions of how it all works, how it comes together, how it comes apart, For fusion, the spiral closes. For fission, the spiral opens. Makes sense. Where you're going to find them with their charges, polarization, and on the octave scale makes a lot of sense to me, as does these crucial proportions of not just the orbitals, but just dimensional proportions in general, and how off our modern way of thinking is in understanding. Polarization, multiples, life and growth, depolarization, divides to manifest death and decay, centrifugal part, and discharge. Nature's disintegration process. Interesting. And the geometries of dimensional proportion that need to be better understood, that there is actual color with each one, and that this is indicative of what the crystalline formation of element compounds are going to be of the molecules, and how many bonds are them. Oh, much love, Aaron. Get your rest, good sir. Thank you for joining in, my friend. Much love and respect as always, brother. Interesting. I like this, and I definitely believe that. So this is another key aspect of how it works. This part, I'm not so sure about how they're labeling them alchemically, but and the state of the matter, I think that is actually incorrect, but I will also be going into that in more detail in the future. All right, what else was I meaning to share and show? Close this one, and we will go to which one instead? These one. Aha! There we go. Getting into the alchemy and what I figured out with alchemy, and the four elements right here plus the elements. Well, air, that's a gas. Water, that's a liquid. Earth, that's a solid. And fire, we now know, is the fourth state of matter called plasma. So you have your four states of elements plus the element periodic table itself. And the three principles with salt, sulfur, and mercury, I also figured out. This is salt in water. It's your electrolysis reaction. Mercury is your negative charge in, and sulfur is your positive charge into the reaction. Oops. And that you got gas and plasma going up, out, and you have solids and liquids going down into those reactions, and that they understood the phase states of elements more than we do today, but we are breaking those barriers down and figuring it out, and that the planets and metals, well, this has to do with vector-based graphs on the energies involved with those elements in relation to the heavenly bodies, but that is a whole other presentation for another day and quite advanced. Oh, what we have called the science of God, rediscovery of electrons. Another very interesting chart that we will be going back on at a later date. So again, see, Walter Russell actually predicted a couple of elements that were then discovered after the fact and named differently than what he named them. Same with deuterium and tritium, essentially subparticles of hydrogen that he was starting to, or that he came up with a whole new understanding due to the octave scales and what particles exist below the base hydrogen atom, and that he has essentially been proven correct over and over again. And yes, here we go, cymatics. And why cymatics matter? Because they are the resonant frequencies that when you combine, you're able to break the bonds or create new ones. Okay, so again, we have the states of matter and apparently what dimensional shape they are. This is a very, very key alchemy drawing. Negative charge, positive charge going in, specific reaction showing what geometry they're going to be, how to calculate them out, and that is a secret that you used to get killed for if you were to tell the public. So hopefully they don't come for me for letting that out. This is a true statement, I personally feel. All right, more of the Waltz-Russell diagram. Yeah. Sigils, magic squares. That's a whole other part of how, well, the alchemical code works. Polarization, circuit symbols. Very interesting. How close they look to these. These look to be very complex little circuits. I sure think so. Oh, don't want to make any of these circuits, do we? Very, very fascinating stuff. Oh, yes. Okay. We want the ancient and mystical alphabets So this also ties into the code that I have come upon and how they all work. And it is going to be a whole new presentation coming up on its own very soon, because it cracks a lot of these, especially the original. Oh, sorry, trying to get a screenshot. There you go. I can also just send you the files. Here we go. There's that one. No, this is trying to find the good alchemical table. Ooh, what do we have here? Very similar. Oh, I'm gonna show them that one. That one, there's something to that. Oh, there's something to actually all of these. And the more you find, the more you realize just how advanced these symbols, this language really is, and that it's advanced chemistry, physics, all in one. And magic is most likely real. But Walter Russell's work, that's how we figure out how the magic really works. How to transmutate elements into other elements. This is a video game. Don't pay attention to that. This, though, this is, we'll come back to this one. There we go. Ciphers of Aleister Crowley. Enochian. We got some alphabet of daggers in Latin. Illuminati cipher. Talismanic cipher. Genetic runes of Honorius. Interesting. Celestial scripts. Oh, look at what we have here. Malachern and Celestial. Fascinating. We'll be coming back to those as well. They all tie in one another maximum. And then we got neutral. Interesting. And the portions of where they go. Oops. Okay. All right, we are over 1 hour in, and it is 3:03 a.m. where I am. I should probably keep this one to an hour, but let's see if there was anything else I wanted to show before we go, because don't want to get it overly off topic here with everything that I have shown and covered. Why not? So we'll go to this guy here just to reassert the red, the blue, and the neutral within the octave scales, and how you're able to figure out potential polarizations, charges, stabilities, and the new technology of, oops, wrong way, phase shifting, fusion and fission, and the hydrogen oxygen reactions that come out of it, and balancing the equations into the neutral, which is crucial when doing a stable reaction and making sure that it does not decay the opposite way back to which it came. And I guess just gotta state red and the blue, deuterium and the tritium, and how these are key crucial parts, but just the start of this technology, and that I am 99.999% sure that I have produced both of these and a decent amount of them through a few processes that I have refined, and will be doing a paper and patent specifically on the deuterium and tritium, and it being a cornerstone to my valence shell phase state fusion fission thesis and method papers to come. And oh, giving too much away here maybe, but hey, it's all Walter Russell and it's all 100 years old, so am I giving it away, or did Russell already do that a century ago? And oh yeah, bro. Oh yeah. It's why I haven't stepped up my reactions and processes, and why I haven't recorded certain aspects and taken certain notes and documented certain things, because of, well, the implications of this technology and just the very basics of it. The fact that we've been hacked, we're being spied on by at least one, most likely two minimum state actors, and who knows what other nefarious forces at play trying to steal our discoveries and this technology from us, thus keeping it to a minimum in the meantime. Oh, absolutely it is. And absolutely with the power and what comes with the quantum computers, and the potential misuse and abuse against humanity if launched in the wrong hands, which seems to be what they are aiming for. At least one, if not multiple, of the three companies slash countries all developing quantum computers at the moment, but all still missing the actual quantum matter and quantum circuitry, which I am 100% sure now that I have actually figured out and am producing. And some of it you see right here next to Oscar, Bert, and Ernie. You got the neutral particles of the processors. And these particles can be 3D printed into the nano processors. And, well, I know the other 3/4 of the equation, as well as how to make and am making the charged particles, polarized particles, and the can't say more because it's going to give too much away. All right. Love you all. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I desperately need help with unhacking my system. I need help with securing my communications. I need help with funding. And I need, well, advice on how to proceed safely with disclosing the technology that I've discovered and what it all means, and the true power and understanding of ancient alchemy. Thank you all. Love you all. We will see you on the next one. Ta-ta for now.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just burning.